Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day on YouTube. Head over there, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Tonight we have a special show. Not our usual Friday show. We're not going to be talking football or Liverpool or Man United or transfer windows or anything like that. Tonight I have a special guest on, a guy who's been a friend of mine for near on 20 years at this stage, I'd say, or pretty
Gee,
close to it.
it's not fair off.
Mr. Ed Lindsay, aka the Bionic Biker. How are we, my friend?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good, not a bother at all. The reason we have Ed on to do this episode is Ed has taken on a challenge that we'll discuss a little bit later. But Ed has gone through a massive leukemia and cancer battle, and he's on to tell his story. And this could get emotional now from both of us. So strap yourselves in. It's not about football, but if you've ever been affected by cancer, and most people in this country have been touched by it in one way or another, this is one that's definitely worth listening to as an example of what can happen if you're up for the battle and you want to try and conquer cancer. Ed, over to you. Kick us off. So tell us a bit of background first of all. Talk to me about Ed Lindsay prior to cancer and the diagnosis.
Prior to cancer and the diagnosis, I was just a regular dude, Noel. You know yourself. I was mad about the wrestling, mad about going to the gym. Didn't really drink that much. Was going out with my ex at the time. I mean, just going through life, going through. I was 26, 27, all the way up. I was 27 and 26 when I got ill. But yeah, no, I was just a regular dude who went to the gym. I worked. I was studying actually at the time. I just finished studying paramedics course, hoping to get going on my life, hoping to get going on my career, and start going on to the next process of, like, yourself being a 20-year-old living for the weekend to, I suppose, looking into the future, investing into the future, investing in myself. That's what I was about. That's all, yes, as I say, you know it all too well how I was and what I did. Didn't
Yeah.
do touch drugs, barely drank. I played football, was shy, but played football with the lads. You know, that was it.
Many a session we had up in the gym up there in Benildes, our old haunt, our old
Ah,
school, and
that was
many a
it.
bench press competition we had on a Friday evening up there.
I think I
And
think
I
you won
won't
most
even
of
get
them,
in.
mate.
Yeah, I won't even get into the shenanigans of what went on when we went into saunas and steam rooms and all that kind of
Good
stuff.
times, good times.
Safe,
Jesus
safe
Christ.
to say we left the place in bits when we used to leave. That's for sure. But yeah, real good times. I have
It
to
was.
say, from my point of view, just a regular dude. You went in, you did your work. We went out, we had fun. We
Mm,
trained. We trained hard when we had to train hard, but we
yeah.
enjoyed it. We always had a good time. So tell me, prior to the official diagnosis, tell me what happened, how you were feeling, what sort of led you to go get checked
Um.
and stuff.
Yeah. So, as you know yourself, we I was I was I was strong. I was strong enough, dude. Like, you know what I mean. I went from being very strong, very well, semi-fit, but I was out on the push bike a lot. Climbing up Sally's Gap. Doing 70k cycles just for the crack of it. To one Thursday morning, and I'll never forget, it was a Thursday morning because we played football on the Wednesday with the lads. And I remember I played football that Wednesday, and I had to stay in goal most of the time because my hip was killing me. Funny enough, my hip was killing me. I was like, what is going on here? Why is my hip at me? I must have injured it or something. So I stayed in goal. And then the next day I decided, right, I'll go for a cycle to try. Maybe it's just something tight. Uh, got about 10 minutes into the cycle. I turned back, slept pretty much most of that day. And then I went for a walk down to the Dundrum. And, Dundrum from my parents' house, Rathfarnham. It's like 4 kilometers at best. But I
Yeah,
got halfway down. It was actually to get the neighborhood's Blink 182 album. I was counting down to that day. Like, went down to get it and got the album. I was walking back, and I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, this walk is hard today. So I rang my mum and I was like, "Ma, any chance you can give me a lift?" And she's like, "Yeah, no worries." She came down and got me. Like, my ma hadn't, like, I haven't rang my ma for a lift in years. You know what I mean? It's like, she's like, "You feeling all right?" I was like, just a bit tired. Uh, Fast forward a bit, and I then started getting joint pains. Like, I don't know if you remember, but, like, I couldn't make fists. Like, that's as far as my hand was going.
mm,
Couldn't couldn't really move as much anymore. I was starting to stiffen up. Like if I'd sit down, I'd stiffen up for a while. And that went on. But you know yourself, like a young fella, 26, can't be anything serious. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I pushed forward, I suppose. I'd go to work and I'd come home and I'd sleep and that'd be it. We then, myself and my ex-partner at the time, we decided to move out. And I moved out. And I went from being like 13 stone, 13 very stocky stone, I suppose, to very thin. I'll never forget, I always had big thighs, big legs from squatting and stuff. And I remember just one day I looked at my legs and I was like, Jesus, they look real thin. Like, and I hadn't seen my man about 2 weeks, my man down about 2 weeks, my family, because we'd moved out and, like I say, working and moving out. Went down and she's like, you lost weight? And I was like, I don't think so. And this kept on going. And then as time went on, around the Christmas 2011 it was. So I started feeling dodgy, like I say, around September. But this went on. Christmas 2011, I went to my brother's house, Wes, absolute hero. And we'll get into that again, you know. But I went to Wes's house for Christmas dinner with my family. And I would always be, I was a funkle, you know. I didn't have a baby at the time, and everyone else did in my family. So Joshy was my godson, and I actually bought him a deadly John Cena figure from you, if you remember. And I bought him a whole lot of other stuff, because I used to love spoiling. I spoiled all my nieces and nephews at Christmas. But I remember I couldn't get down and play with him. And I was like, Jesus, I'm too tired to do anything. So I slept most of the day in my brother's gaff on Christmas. And then they woke me up for dinner. And so I was sitting there, and I like I said, I couldn't make fists, and I was trying to cut the turkey, and I couldn't even hold the knife, or like I could grip a knife like that, Noel, you know what I mean? Like that's those two fingers, like chopstick fingers. So my dad had to cut up my chicken, and I think I had like a couple of bites, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. Do you know what I mean? So what I did then was
before you move on from that, I have to say, this is a guy who loved his grub, and this is a guy who was very active. This is a guy who had no problem getting down on the carpet and playing with kids and being really
no,
active and loved
absolutely
his
not.
grub. So this is the far extreme from what this guy is. Yeah, go ahead.
It was weird. I turned into an old man overnight, like, you know what I mean? Sleeping and eating, you know what I mean? Or sleeping, barely eating, and like barely moving. And I just remember being tired all the time, like, and yeah. So my brother said to me, he goes, "Look, you need to go to the hospital. There's something up with you here." And I was like, "Look, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm grand. It will pass." I was constantly in my head that it was the flu, or it was the flu, or it was some sort of
Typical man. We all do that. Never want to go to the doctor or the hospital.
No, exactly, and that's it. No, I was like, couldn't be anything serious. I'm 26. I don't drink. I barely drink. I don't smoke. You know what I mean? I look after myself.
Train all the time.
Yeah, but and this was it. I was like, can't be anything serious. Can't like nothing. Like, and was never in my mind about cancer. Like, let me tell you, like.
Nothing. A few Solvadine on a bottle of flat 7-Up wouldn't take
flat
care.
7-Up, you know, and a few prayers and a candle lit. I thought it'd be top dog. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
But no, it wasn't the case. So January came. Like, it was actually January came, and do you know what it was? It was. I was watching the Royal Rumble repeat in my apartment at the time. But January came, and I went to my doctor first thing in the new year of 2012. I went up to him, and he took one look at me. Brian Fagan, he'd been my doctor since I was a kid, you know what I mean? Took one look at me and said, I told him my symptoms, like losing weight, sweating at night profusely, no appetite, like can't move, you know, all the telltale signs that I'm sure he's heard too many times before, you know. He goes, look, I'm gonna get you to go for some blood tests. So I went and got the blood test. A couple of weeks later, I was called. I finally got the letter. Went up about 2 or 3 weeks later, got the blood test, and straight away went home. I was like, oh, grand, happy days. Struggled to get out of driving a little sports car at the time, driving a Toyota Celica. I was like struggled to get out of that, like leather seats and all. You know what I mean? I was like crippled to getting out of that. Get a phone call about 4 o'clock that evening, and they just said, you need to get up here straight away. You came to get your bloods, and there's something wrong. And I was like, well, what's wrong with them? Oh, we'd rather tell you here, you need to come up. And I was like, no, I'm not coming up. I don't feel well. I'm tired. I'm lying on my couch. they're like, you need to come up. I was like, no, I'm not coming up. I'll come up another time. Like, they're like, look, you're neutropenic. I was like, what does neutropenic mean? Like, that's a word no one should ever have to hear, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And they look,
Mm.
come up to the hospital. We'll talk to you. So at the time, I was like, I was like, well, I'm not driving. I'm tired. So I rang my mum and dad, and I said, Dad, look, they're after saying something's wrong with my blood. My dad was like, what? Phone was down. I lived in Sandyford at the time. No, not Sandyford. Stepaside. And the
Yeah.
phone was down. My dad was up in about 10 minutes flat. I think a guard pulled him over for speeding. And my dad told him what the crack was. And the guard was like, no, go on, go get him.
Go
Just
ahead. Yeah.
be safe. So at this stage, Noel, as well, my throat was closing up. I was getting cysts at the back of my throat full of poison, because obviously everything was just, my immune system was shot, basically.
Yeah.
So my dad got me to the hospital. They brought me in. They told me I was neutropenic. I was like, what does that mean? You need to tell me. They were like, look, we're going to put you in isolation in a bed by yourself. And the plan is we're going to do a bone marrow biopsy on you. And I was like, what the fuck is a bone marrow? Yeah, grand. Okay, cool. So what's neutropenic? They're like, you've no white blood cells. Your neutrophils aren't creating white blood cells. And I was like, is that dangerous? Like, should I be worried? And they're like, no. Like, let's not jump to conclusions here. Like, they were like, you're telling us you have a sore throat. That's what could be good, bringing your neutrophils down. This chicken and the egg situation. I swear to God,
Mm.
I heard that more times than I ever want to hear in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going forward, they did the bone marrow biopsy on me, and Jesus Christ, like, that was awful. That was awful. Comes back, nothing showed. Nothing showed. They're like, we don't know. We give you a few shots. They gave me a few shots in the stomach and kept me in for 2 weeks. Counts went back up. Happy days. Now I still felt shy. Sorry for the language, but I still felt terrible. You know what I mean?
You
But
don't have to worry about your language on this. You can use whatever language you want.
cool. Yeah, no. So I still felt awful now. But they were like, I'd been locked up in a room by myself for 2 weeks. People coming in, like people with COVID, like what we saw the last couple of years. People coming up masked up, gloves on, aprons on. But that was me in 2012, early 2012. People coming in and like they had to go into one room to wash their hands and then wear this because I'd no immune system. You know what I mean? So it looked by the bloods that day that the counts were up and they're like, yeah, go home. So I went home 3 days later. Actually, being honest, that night I still felt terrible. I was like, yeah, I'm still not well. I know I'm not well, but the doctors are telling me I'm fine. I'm not going to go looking. Went home. And this went on for about, from I'd say the end of January till Easter, where I go in, they do a bone marrow biopsy, nothing will come, back, forth. I'd go home because I wanted it. Then it was about a week before Easter. They brought me in and they said, "Look, we're not letting you go home because there's something wrong here. Like, but we don't know." And I still felt all right, but like the joints were worse. I'd lost weight. Like I was sick. I knew I was sick. You know what I mean? Like they put me in. They had me in a cancer ward, but that's where they keep me to sleep. So I knew there was something up, but they didn't know themselves, and they just didn't want to let me out of their sights at this stage because there was no point. I would have been back anyway. A couple of days later, I remember I went to bed. Like I went to sleep. I never left the bed, but I went to sleep and I just woke up and I was rattling. The bed was soaking. I honestly, I was like, shit, did I piss the bed? Like, but I didn't. I was sweating. I woke up. I started throwing up, puking, and I started rattling so hard, Roigern from the temperature. So that's what it's called. But I mean, I was rattling, and the bed
Yeah.
itself started shaking aggressively, and I couldn't even call out for help. It was that bad. And two men that we all used to get the paper. We all used to get a different paper each. I didn't read the paper, but they just asked me what I'd be
Yeah.
interested in doing. I was helping them out. But they called the nurse, and Tina comes in. And Tina came in, and she's like, she held my hand, and she cleaned up, puked me. They had to call the doctor. Had to give me medication. So she sat with me the whole night, Tina did, until Prof. Enroy came in. And she was the doctor in Tala that was looking after me.
Yeah.
So she sent a reg up Sue, and Sue said to me, she goes, Ed, there's something sinister inside killing you here. It's killing you. I mean, you didn't have a good night last. There's something, and that's what they said. They were the words, something sinister killing you. So like, oh, okay, cool, fair enough. So what they said was, we don't know what's going on. We're going to do a biopsy, and another bone marrow biopsy. This must have been about the 20th one, and that's no exaggeration. Like, I was just numb to them at this stage. Like. So they were like, we're going to do another one on you, and we're also going to give you chemotherapy, but we don't know what we're dealing with. We know it's something sinister. Cancer was never ruled out, they said, and that was fine.
Mm.
But it's something sinister. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it to you in a push. It's called a grenade, is what they'd say. I suppose that's what the girl Roisin who did it for me said. It was a grenade type of chemotherapy. So basically, chemotherapy works. It goes into your body over a week. You're hooked up to drips. It's literally a drip going in, and it takes about a week for the course to run into your body. She did it in 2 hours. I remember she did the push, and I felt fine for about an hour, I think. And then I just started feeling terrible. I thought I felt like my skin was on fire. It felt like there was an alien. Everyone knows the scene an alien where it bursts through
Yeah,
his belly. That's what I thought was
yeah,
happening to me. I was in agony. They put me in my own private room again, and then I started coming in and out of consciousness, and this is really like this is before I even like this is when I had to accept, yeah, I have cancer. You know what I mean? Because up until that stage, I was like, no, nothing wrong with me. We'll get through it. It's not cancer. But this was when I knew, right, okay, this isn't a short term thing anymore. I'll be out of here soon. So in and out of consciousness, things weren't good. The chemotherapy they gave me, they told my parents and my partner at the time, they were like, listen, this is either going to kill him or it's going to give us time to find out what's exactly wrong with him, and then we can get a plan and actually see what we need to do. So they sent off the bone marrow biopsy to America. Took a couple of weeks to come back. Within that week, like I said, I was in and out of consciousness. I remember I woke up Easter Monday, the bank holiday, and I was starting to come around. And my brothers from Australia were at the end of my bed with my family. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I was like, and it was funny because I remember thinking, am I still asleep? That's Bruce and Rory. Like, what are they doing here? Like, Wes
yeah.
is Rory's
This
obviously.
was like an out of body experience type thing. You weren't
That's,
sure
that's
whether
what
you were conscious or whether you were dreaming.
exactly
Uh,
exactly because I was coming in and out. I remember I was coming in and out like a lot. And I remember seeing Bruce and Rory there, and my brother Rory, like he was a mess. Like the two of them, I love all my bros, but Rory's just mad lad. Like, but I wake up and the first thing he does, he pulls me toe to crack it, thinking he's funny, and it was the most painful thing in the world.
I can
I
imagine
had to
that.
go.
Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck's have to happen? And basically, my dad said, he goes, look, they were lining you up for ICU, Ed. You haven't been good, like. So what the reason why my brothers were home was my family were called in. They were told, look, get his friends up here, get his brothers home, because we don't know how he's going to survive over this week. They need to come home if they want to say goodbye, like, because there was a
yeah,
good possibility that was the case. It was going to be that was it, like, Thankfully, thank God, it wasn't the case. So it came through, started to feel better, dude. Like, hands could make fists and all, like, and this was after one shot. So it comes back to me about a week after. I started being able to walk and stuff, like my skin wasn't too bad. My mate Matt from the UK was there. He showed up. He's doing a cycle with me. Um, the transplant came back from America, and they were like, look, we know what you have. Like, we're going to tell you, but we need to call we'd rather your dad and someone else be with you, because I was like, no, tell me now. They're like, no, we're not telling you. It'll go over your head. Like, obviously they've told people who are sick 1,000 times before what they have, and I'm not being funny. You just kind of blank out when you hear you are sick. You don't hear.
yeah.
So my dad,
That's the one thing, isn't it, about medical staff, especially dealing with the likes of cancer and stuff like that. You know the way culturally, probably as Irish people, it's always sure, get a bit of a rest in there and a handful of aspirin, you'll be grand. But
yeah,
with medical staff with cancer, I went through it with my mum as well, as you know, who passed from
I
cancer.
do.
Um, these people are very blunt, very precise, and very to the point. They don't sugarcoat anything. This is the way it is, and this is what's going to happen. Yeah,
And that's it now. And I think that's why they called me in. So, like you know yourself, exactly like you said, you went through it with your mum. Like, I went in, and so me, my dad, and Orna, my ex at the time, like, we went in, we sat down, and you go, Ed, you have non-Hodgkin's, non-specific T-cell lymphoma. What the fuck are you going on about? It's not like you have cancer. You know what I mean? You,
yeah.
you, you never hear
You're
that.
thinking you're thinking here we go again, like the original diagnosis.
Yeah,
Here we
I
go
was like,
again. So tell me
what?
what this is.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? Like, what the hell is non-Hodgkin? Like, you know what I mean? Hodgkins, I was
Yeah,
thinking of sausages, I think, at the time. You know what I mean? Hodgkin sausages. You know what I mean? And I was like, what? Okay, cool. And they're like, yeah, this is what you have. And the only treatment we think is going to work for it is a bone marrow transplant. Again, Noel, I thought me getting a bone marrow, I thought they were going to take out my hip and replace it with a hip. Honestly, that's what I thought it was. Like,
yeah,
I knew nothing. I knew nothing about it. So they tell me then we're going to do a plan up of chemotherapy for you. It's going to be intensive chemotherapy. Like you're going to be living in the hospital for the next 8 weeks, and then you're going to go down to James's for your bone marrow transplant, and then that's where you go. So you'll do your chemotherapy here, then you go down to St. James's, and like you say, it wasn't like we're sorry, we're this, we're that, and they don't have to be sorry. You know what I mean? Like, again, like I say, they say this is the plan, this is what we're doing. Let's get at it. See you later. You know what I mean? You see it. You see doctor. You know yourself. You wait around for doctors. They're busy. They're busy people. God bless them. And you know, you see for 5 minutes. They tell you what's going to happen, and that's that. That's them done. They put the plan in place.
They're dealing with so much of it. So you know what I mean. They don't have time to wrap their arms around you because they're on to the next.
No.
That's the pressure that the health system's on.
Yeah. And that 100%. That was 100%. And I still see it to this day when I was still going for my checkups. Like, you know what I mean? And every person that, you know, especially the last 2 years, they're heroes. Like, you know what I mean? So let's definitely get that out there. They're just
100%
the backbone of hospitals. You know, they're fantastic. But yeah, so they told me my chemotherapy plan. They told me to start. So they're like, look, your counts are good. Go home for a night or two before we get you going. We'll start next Monday. So we did. We started the chemotherapy. Like I said, it was a drip. It was I don't even remember what the chemotherapy was, but we did it. It was over a plan. But the one thing that got me, and I didn't want to do, was a needle in the spine of chemotherapy now, because a needle in your spine isn't right. You know what I mean? Like, but I had to do it.
Yeah.
You know. So it was 8 weeks of it. But the thing is, because I was fit and healthy before, the chemotherapy would kind of knock me down for a day or two, and they were expecting me. They give you 2 weeks, a week of it, and then a week to recover. But I was kind of doing it on my feet, like, you know what I mean? There'd be times they wouldn't let me go out of the room because my counts were down, but I'd be doing press ups. You know, I'm not trying to be a Superman here, but this was just the truth. But I'll never forget Jill when the Regis said to me, she goes, "You're doing this on your feet," like, and I was like, "Yeah, like, I mean, I'm waiting for the chemotherapy to kind of knock the crap out of me, like, but it's not." And that's not saying it will happen to everyone. Like, God forbid anyone who gets it, listen to this, will get it. It's not the case. I mean, I was just one of the very fortunate ones that I could do it. I was, you know, had youth on my side. Like I say, 27. So I did that. I did it for 8 weeks. Come mid-July, I was sent down to James's to have a chat with Professor Vandenberg. She was going to take over for me. So I went down and had a chat with her. She told me all about it. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Went back to Tala Hospital, and I remember I said to a nurse, I was like, yeah, she talked me through what my plan is down there, what they haven't planned for me down there, and it's gonna do it, and I'll be grand. And I refused to look at the other side of it now. There was 2 things I did every morning when I woke up. I went straight to the mirror and said, you're gonna beat this, and then I listened to Eminem till I collapse every day. Still listen to it. That's just me jam, you know, because I was like, I'm gonna do this till I collapse, like, you know what I mean? So that's what I listen to every day. So I went down and had a chat with Prof. Vandenberg, and she basically said to me, she was like, this is the plan, it's going to work or it's not. And I was like, cool, went home. So I went back to Tala Hospital that night, and I spoke to a nurse, and I told her, I was like, yeah, she's going to do the bone marrow transplant, and I'll be grand. I'll be done. I get a phone call 2 days later, and the Prof. Vandenberg wanted to see me again. And I was like, oh, that must be protocol. And she called me in, and she said, look, Ed, I don't think you realise how much of a serious situation you're in here. I was like, what? She goes, I don't think you realise how serious you are. Because I came to see you during it as well. And I was on top form, if you remember. I had no hair. I still have no hair. Like, I'm bald now. But like, I was just being positive. And she goes, I don't think you understand how much of a serious situation you're in. You're too positive. They were her words. I was too positive. I was kind of taken back by it. And I went, what? What do you mean too positive? She goes, do you not realise, like, if this doesn't work out, there's nothing more we could do? And I got, like, I don't get angry now, but I got angry there. I went, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. I go, I'm very, very, I know I'm very smiley and very happy and very, yeah, let's do it. But I'm very aware of my situation. I'm very aware. I go, and I said to Orne, she was on the left, and I said, we've had this conversation that I may not be here next year, but I refuse to let that bring me down until I have to let it bring me down. And she said, oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure you knew that. I was like, I definitely know the situation, you know?
I suppose I have to tell our viewers at the moment, first of all, that even prior to all this cancer stuff and stuff like that, You were probably one of the most positive people that I know, just in general in life. You just loved life and you loved enjoying life and you loved every bit of it. And there's very little that would normally get you down. So
I was
yeah,
just a
so
happy-go-lucky dude. Like, I mean, like I tried not to. No, I tried not to sweat the small stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I tried. You know, but yeah, I was just, I was like a dog, mate. I was happy to be out. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't
yeah,
mind. Like, you know, but I went back to, I was living in City West at this time. I was renting, we'd moved over to City West at this between the stages. And my brother Wes came over and my two sisters, and we were in the sitting room. And I sit on a beanbag, and he goes, "What did you want to tell her?" I was like, "She's telling me I'm too positive, like, you know, I'm being too positive." And this is nothing on Prof Vanderberg. I just think she didn't realize that, like, I think she
yeah,
thought I was like, "Oh, it's grand, I'll be grand," like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I just said, I was like, she's have to tell me I'm too positive. And I put my head back like that, to put my hands, like, you know, behind my head to, like, you know, breathe out a bit of frustration.
yeah,
And then I hit my head off a corner of a wall, the back of it. And that was the first time I broke down and started roaring crying, because that was it. It was just that after being told I was too positive, that's when I let it get me. That was my first time I ever let it get the better of me at that stage. And I started roaring crying. And I'll
yeah.
never forget, Wes, Wes gets up and he just ran over and he hugged me so hard. And sorry, my little one's kicking off.
Nearly crunched it.
He did, yeah. He just hugged me and he told me, like, you know, just a big brother hug is what I needed, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just kind of got myself together then. I had a bit of a cry, and, you know, yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Right, let's keep going. So that week
So
I went down.
after that situation, then did you bounce back into the positivity again?
Oh, 100%. Straight back into it.
So maybe this was the plan from the professor, was it? That she needed you to have that moment of understanding to gear you up
100%.
for what was ahead and something like that. Yeah,
Like I say, I don't think she was calling. I mean, I don't think she was calling me in to say, I want you to think you're going to pass. You know what I mean? Or
yeah.
you're not going to beat this. I don't think that was the case.
Because most
Ever.
people going through it would often side towards the negative side of things, and it would be the doctors who would try to big them up a little bit and go try and be a bit positive. We're going to try the treatment stuff like that.
Which they were,
Yeah,
100%. Like I say,
yeah,
it was just a case of, I don't think she realized how happy I was. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And sorry, my little one's just kicking off there, crying. I'm the only one here. Can I have 2 seconds? Is that all right? Just to see if
Yeah,
she's all
yeah.
right.
Go
Or
ahead. Yeah, do whatever you
sorry,
need
man.
to do. Yeah.
Sorry.
While you're
One sec.
doing that, I'll update them about what's going on and what's going to happen. So just while Ed is sorting out his little one there, just to let people know, he is on Instagram and it's giving back really. It's the Bionic Biker, and what Ed intends to do is he's intending on cycling the length of Ireland, so from Mizenhead to Mallinhead, which is basically the two furthest tips in the country, if you can imagine. And he's looking for sponsorship for that. And the sponsorship is going to be going to the Bone Marrow for Leukemia Trust. That's who he's cycling for. Now we'll get into a little bit more detail on this in a little bit later when Ed comes back on. But this is a quite a cycle. I think when Ed was talking to me about it, it's 630 kilometers in total that he's taken on, and it's his way of giving back. Just seeing him there now, and now baby's bottle there and stuff like that. But it's Ed's way of giving back to these people who were absolutely fantastic for him, and a big part of the reason why Ed is still here today. If you look at the donation situation at the moment, he's pretty close to his target, but I'd like us to smash that target out of the park. At the moment, it's at 4,000, I think 420, and his target is 5,000. But we're going to smash that out of the park over the next couple of weeks. Now, fire away there.
Sorry about that.
No,
She
no
threw her
problem at
elephant
all.
out and she had no boosh. So yeah. So I mean, I like going back to it, I think, yeah, 100%. She was just gearing me up. She just wanted to make sure I suppose I was aware of the situation, you know, which is fine. So yeah, I had the little release of it here. Cried my eyes out, and then just thought, right, back to it. Like, you know, let's get this done. You know what I mean? Let's push
Tell,
forward.
tell
Let's
us
get this.
this: when you went for these meetings and they told you all this scientific stuff and things like that, these names for it and stuff like that. Did,
Mm,
did you did you make the mistake that everyone makes the mistake where they go on Google? You
no,
didn't go near Google. You didn't go
stayed
near your
away from
computer. You
Google,
didn't
man.
do any of that. Good,
No, I made a
good.
point to stay away from Google.
Yeah,
The, no, I made a point to stay away from Google because exactly what you just
yeah,
said. If I had a red non-Hodgkin's non-specific T-cell lymphoma, like I was told the person in Tala who had the last case was 6 years before me. It was a rare cancer, like it's a very rare cancer.
Yeah, remember you telling me that, yeah.
Yeah, it was rare. You know, they hadn't seen it in Tala, and by the time they caught it, there was nothing they could do for the guy. No, I made the mistake. I remember that one time, so obviously just kind of going around here, I had to get down to the guide clinic because you have to, when you're doing chemotherapy and full body radiation, you have to go to a sperm bank. And HSE, great, they pay for a taxi down, taxi back. And I remember coming home, or coming back to the home, like, you know, coming back to the hospital, the taxi man started chatting to me. And me being nice, started chatting back, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a bit of a professor. I feel a bit of a professor myself now, you know what I mean?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, here we go." And he goes, "What do you have?" And I was like, "It doesn't really matter what I have. I'm ill, like, you know, I'm going to tell him. I didn't know him." And he goes, "As long as it's not a blood cancer, you know, you could be in a lot of trouble with that." And I remember thinking to myself, "Fuck off, you prick." You know what I mean? And
and this is the reversal, isn't it? Because normally we get into the taxis and we go, "How are you doing? Are you having a busy shift?" We talk the shite. This guy was on form this day.
Now, he was lucky that I just come out of the sperm bank, let me tell you, you know, so I was quite relaxed, you know what I mean? Like,
it might have been different on the way in.
Exactly, do you know what I mean? But I remember thinking to myself, I was like, is this lad for real? Like, and he is telling me, "Oh, you know, I do a bit of Google, I'm a bit of a professor." And I said, "Look, mate, I'm going to stop you right there. You don't know me. You don't know what I have. I don't want to hear what you think." And he's like, "Oh, I'm only trying to make conversation." I said, "Well, a bit of advice. Again, like I don't, you know, it's only when I feel like I have to." I was like, "I don't want to know your advice. You can keep your advice, and I'll give you a bit of my advice from a person in my position. Next time you're bringing someone in for treatment, maybe talk about the weather." And then, like, I'm not being funny, from Parnell Street all the way up to Tala, which is a long old drive during the day. It was a very quiet taxi ride for both of us, you know what I mean? But like,
I like the way you mentioned there as well that, you know, catching these things in time is very important. So we would urge our viewers and subscribers, if you're not feeling well or if you're feeling different to how you should usually feel, go get yourself checked out. It may be nothing, but go get yourself checked out.
Absolutely. Don't be like me. I didn't want to spend the 50 quid at the doctor's. Don't do that. But yeah, so pushing on, yeah, went. I mean, it was a weird summer for me that summer because summer 2012. Had tickets for Blink 182, if you remember, and I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But Ray Rooney, like, emailed him.
Ray. Shout out to Ray.
Yeah, good man, Ray. Like, fucking love you, bro. I really do. Straight away they're like, "Yeah, come down and meet them." So I met the lads from Blink 182, like, you know what I mean, like that. Yeah. I mean, that was deadly, like, you know.
Every cloud has a silver lining, as they say.
Every cloud, you know what I mean. Yeah. Then I went down to. Sorry, but anyway, I went down to James. Got the plan, did it. So they sent me to Luke's first, full body radiation. And when I said I did the chemotherapy on my feet, did the full body radiation, that knocked me for 6. That's what did it.
I remember that. That's what did my mum in as well. The radiation was very, very tough. Very tough.
Very tough, dude. I mean, that's when I felt, that was the first time I ever felt weak and broke, you know. I'm just gonna grab her, mate. She's just sorry about it. Wife's after Westlife, you know what I mean? So I'm so sorry, lads.
Take your time. There's no rush on this at all. Take your time. Absolutely. Like I said, I'll just reiterate again. This is the Instagram page, the Bionic Biker. So if you could go out there and give it a follow, and share the word out there, would be absolutely fantastic. Of course, this is the course that's Sephram, so he's going to be going all the way up that west coast there, and all the way from Mizenhead to Mallinhead, and something in the region of 630 kilometers in total. He's going to be cycling this heck of a challenge to lay down after everything he's gone through. Again, this is who it's being done for, the Bone Marrow for Leukemia Trust. So anything you can do for them. And again, we'll get back on the donation shortly, and tell you what you can do there. All the information again is below there in the ticker bar, and it'll also be in the description of the episode. Now, my friend, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, the radiation, like anyone, that was the one that did it for me. Then they gave me one more bit of chemotherapy. But because I was going into the bone marrow transplant stage at this stage, so this was it. Like this was last chance saloon is what we'll say. You know what I mean? My brother Wes, who again, you know what I mean? He was the lucky, the lucky person in the family. He was my donor. I had two donors. I was actually quite blessed now because in Tala I saw a couple of people not make it because they were waiting on donors. So please, 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 lads, if you can, sign up to be a blood donor, a platelet donor, and a bone marrow donor because you are going to save lives. And I mean that. I mean that. So please, if you can,
Absolutely.
do it. So Wes and Rory were both my matches. So I had five siblings. Wes and Rory were both my matches. Rory was in Australia. They'd gone back. Wes was here. So Wes, he didn't even question it, man. And Wes, Wes was a fan of his weed, and he was told, "No, you don't have to give up the weed. You're fine." He gave everything up, and for Wes Lindsay to give up weed, like you know what I mean, that's when I knew he
Yeah.
loved me. But like he didn't even hesitate, and to this day, he still hasn't even mentioned it. You know what I mean? Like I mean, absolute
Yeah.
hero. Like, just I love him. He's a fucking he's a hero. Like, but yeah, he was the one who gave me the bone marrow. So my blood was B positive at the time. It's not that now. I don't know what my blood is. I should know what my blood is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't. But yeah, so I went in. I got the radiation, brought me back to James's. They had to blue light me back to James's because, like I said, the radiation knocked me for 6 hours. I was getting headaches and stuff. It wasn't good. Then they gave me another bag of chemotherapy, and like that, like I was flatlined because that's what they do. That's what a bone marrow transplant is. Chemotherapy builds it up and kind of destroying the cancer cells, and then with the radiation and that bag of chemo, they want you to be have nothing really, no white cells to fight, so you can get the new ones, you know. And that's essentially what the bone marrow is. It's basically like an oil change, if you
Yeah.
will. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's like they're clearing you to regenerate you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the best way of saying it. That is the best way of saying
Yeah.
it. And that's exactly what they did. They cleared the blood to regenerate the blood. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, yeah. And then that was it. That was the bone. That was the hard part done, or so I thought. You know, and that was the hard part done. It was just weeks of recovery.
Yeah.
Um, the blood kicked in about a month later. I remember they kept coming in saying, "No, you still no blood cells or no white cells, no white cells." Then one day, Dr. Keneally comes into me and she's like, "You've got one white blood cell left." I said, "Oh." She goes, "This is a good thing." I said, "What?"
Yeah.
She goes, "This
This
is a
is
good thing."
huge. Yeah.
You know, and I was like, "One, okay," but you know, like you know what I mean. I'm sure that it was a lot more numbers, but they were just like, "It's one," you know.
Mm.
Next day come up, shoot up. It was doing good, dude. And I mean, I was starting to feel like myself again. Hair was growing back. You know what I mean from the chemotherapy. It was all going good. But then I developed graft versus host, and what that is, it's another disease, but it's a good thing to get a touch of when you've had a bone marrow transplant because what that is it's my old cells trying to come back. And so that's my host. I'm the host. That's my old cells and Wes's cells fighting each other. So they had to put me on steroids, and then this was when the fun began for me. Like, and when I say fun, it was like anything from
I
life.
remember this now. I remember this stage.
Yeah. No, I'll get to that. I'll get to it. What was that? The TNA show.
The
Oh man,
TNA show in the
I
National
had good fun
Stadium.
with that. I had good fun with that. Now I'd say, but yeah. So they put me on the steroids, and Jesus Christ, they put me on a serious dosage of steroids. You know what I mean? And in between, I was in and out of hospital all the time. This is after the bone marrow for tests. But they put me on steroids about 2 weeks after I had the bone marrow transplant, and I went on them and I filled out. I mean, you remember, I looked like Jabba the Hutt. I was huge. I mean, if you check out the Instagram page, you'll see that there's pictures of me on steroids, and I was serious water retention. You know what I mean? But about a month later, when I should have been gearing up to go in every month, my blood's dropped again, and that's not what you want to see. You want to get 100 days at least, but my blood's dropped again. So the neutrophils dropped, everything dropped. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they were like, "Okay, so it looks like it didn't work." So I had to face my own mortality, if you will. You know what I mean? Because now I was like, okay, it didn't work, and I was still in denial. I was like, no, it can't be, it can't be, it can't be, it can't be. Bone marrow after bone marrow, more biopsies, fucking more biopsies. Now nothing was coming back. They did all these tests. It turned out what it was driving me my immune system down was the steroids. So at
Okay.
least they knew that. So they put me back on this injection that into my stomach, which pushed my white cells up. And then come New Year's Eve of 2012, so the whole year behind me, the doctor said, "Yeah, you can come off them. Your counts are good. We're going to keep you on the steroids. That's what's been doing it. You're cancer free." That was it. I was cancer free. I was delighted, bro.
How
Because I was
how
on
how did that? Tell me how that sound. Tell me about the emotion of hearing that now.
because Niall, I'll be honest, I'd be in and out of hospital so much post transplant with infections, and my blood's been down for nearly 3 months since the bone marrow transplant. I couldn't accept it because I was like, it's still there. They just, you know, I've heard this before. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I've heard this before.
And the
People
thing
think
about it is, doctors don't say that lightly. Doctors are not going to say something that like that to you
no,
lightly. So
not at
yeah.
all, not at all. No, they'd never say that. Like, no.
Mm.
Sure. I remember when my brothers had to come back from Australia a second time because they thought, yeah, it didn't work, but they came over and we could just get to know each other a bit before if anything did happen. And I remember my brother brought me into hospital one Sunday to get some platelets. And he said to a nurse, he goes, "Look, just tell Eddie it'll be all right. You don't have to mean." She goes, "I can't say that." And she's right. She can't give you false hope. Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't. And he was like, "Can you not just say it?" Like, he's like, "No, I can't." But so I was cancer free, but I didn't. I think I was just institutionalized now. I was used to the hospital and stuff. I kind of
Mm.
wanted not to be. I know that's weird for me to say, but that's how it was. I was just kind of lost.
Mm.
I really was. I just been through an emotional fucking train ride. So I started getting out again though. I started going to the cinema and stuff, and I was like, yeah, okay, life is good. I'm starting to go, and I was cancer free. But then because I've been on so much steroids and so much medication, my right hip started acting up again. And again, that's how it all kicked off for me before. They did an MRI. They were like, oh, yeah, you got AVN, uh, avicular necrosis, I think it's called.
Mm.
You need a hip replacement. I was like, what? A hip replacement? I'm 27. They're like, yeah, the steroids are after destroying your joints. I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of was like, right, okay. I think they were keeping. I think they were pushing it off. They were pushing it off for as long as possible. So a couple of months went by. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to do this hip replacement. It's looking like it's a hip replacement. Let's send you down for another X-ray just to see." And I was like, "Yeah, my left one's been a bit sore as well because, I mean, I must be leaning that more." They're like, "Yeah, your left hip's gone as well. So you're gonna have to get both hips replaced." I'm 27. After going like a year and a half ago, I was cycling up around Sally Gap, doing wheelies, fucking playing
Not a care
five-a-side
in the
football,
world.
hopping off the fences. Like the lads going, "What's wrong with this lad?" Like
Yeah.
to being told I'm going to get a bus pass and two hips replaced. You know what I mean? Like I was like, "What's after happening here? Like what's going on?" So they were like, "Yeah, you're going to need hips replaced, but we're going to push it off for as long as we possibly can." So that was 2013. I was told I'd need hip replacements. In 2013 as well, it wasn't a great year for me, Noel. And funny enough, that song, I think, was a Happy by Pharrell Williams came out, and I was but fucking happy, let me tell you. Like, and I'd hear it all the time. People, the gym kicked off as well. The gym scene seemed to kick off big time in 2013,
Yeah.
and I couldn't go to the gym because my joints are
Yeah.
fucked. And I
Yeah.
remember thinking, God is like, if there's a God out there, and I do believe in God,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, if there's a God out there, He is really punishing me for something I didn't do. I've done something,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And
And for
thinking,
someone who went to the gym as much as I know, and then you can't go, that's a
couldn't go.
huge part of your life from your
That was
mental stuff and everything and all.
that was
Yeah.
exactly no. That was exactly it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was bloated. I needed hips replaced. I wasn't myself. My relationship died as well that year, as you well know. It just
Yeah.
stopped. It just stopped.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was bitter. You know how angry I was when that happened. Looking
Yeah.
back
Absolutely.
now, like I mean, it worked out. Like life is very good now, But back then, I had no idea what was down the line for me 7 or 8 years later. And I will say this for Orna, and credit to Orna. She did a bang up, and I'll never take it away from her. She was very, very good to me when I was sick, as with everyone else. Unfortunately, we couldn't go on, and that's life, I mean, I didn't look like me anymore. I suppose there's a lot of things going on, and I personally don't know how I would have reacted if the shoe would have been on the other foot. So there's no hard feelings there. There's not now. Like it's all good. Like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go for a coffee with the girl. You know what I mean. But if I saw her, I'd say hello. And that'd be it. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I then had to wait. I was on crutches, and this is when I came into you. Do you remember I was on the?
You came in. Your dad waited outside the shop.
Yeah,
You
my
came
dad,
in on the crutches. Now, when I say he came in on crutches, literally his two hips weren't working, and he just had to get out of the house. And remember you saying you needed a change of scenery. You wanted
Absolutely,
to
you told me to come
go
in.
around town with dad, and you came in to see me. And I remember this to this day. I can tell this story perfectly because I remember you coming in, and you were actually like a 70 or 80-year-old man on the
I,
crutches trying to stand up to the point. And the thing about it is, I couldn't even sit you down because if I sat you down, you might be able to get back up and stuff like that.
I
And all
was
that. That's
yeah
terrible.
I wasn't getting back up, and that was the thing. Like and
But that day we had a quick chat, and you had filled me in on everything and stuff like that, and you had filled me in on the treatment you went through, and that it was last chance saloon and all this kind of stuff.
yeah
And I remember coming home that night to Hillary, and I was a little bit upset, I have to say. I was actually very upset.
yeah
And I remember saying to Hillary that it had felt like you had come in nearly to say goodbye to me. And I'm not
yeah
messing there now. You can ask
no
Hillary and all. That's what it felt like to me.
yeah
And I
yeah
just
yeah
turned around and I said to Hillary, do you know something? I'm not sure, but I don't know. I could be close to losing a good night. And that's how I felt that day when I went home.
Well, to be fair, now I think a lot of people did think that because some people. It's only when I put up that post a couple of weeks ago on the Bionic Biker that people actually reached out to me who knew I was sick, and they're like, I knew you were sick, but I didn't know all the I didn't know how bad it was. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
got
there was very few people in that circle that knew how close this was to you
yeah,
not being here today telling your story. This was
and
very, very close.
for many reasons, you know yourself for many
Yeah,
reasons. I mean, like I said, 2013 was not a good year for me. I mean, I went to being told I was on a waiting list for hip replacements. What else? As I say, like the only relationship I ever knew. So don't forget that was my first ever breakup as well. So I couldn't even go out and like rebound or whatever. I had to sit at home watching reruns of
yeah,
Friends while my mum was making me toast in bed because I couldn't even walk. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it wasn't a good time. And I remember I did come into you and I said, look, yeah, because I looked worse then because I had the chronic GVH as well, if you remember. So like
yeah,
took me off the steroids, so I completely shrunk this time. Now I'd gone the other way. I'd gone from being stocky
yeah,
to skinny from
yeah.
cancer, like skinny from having cancer to
And I think
bloated.
that's what gave me the fright because you can tell the story about when we were at the TNA wrestling show and you came
Yeah,
up to
I
me
must
and
get
we
back
were
to that.
I
Yeah,
think
I
we
must
were
get
both
back.
we were both wearing check shirts. So it was like Brokeback Mountain. We were both wearing
It
check
was.
shirts. And I
They
remember
were in at that stage.
yeah, and I remember still are Nirvana. and
Absolutely.
but I remember I was talking to someone at the barrier at the top of the second down walkway.
Oh
And I
no.
remember you came up to me and you went, "How are you, pal?" And I didn't know who you were. This was at the height of the steroids now. This
This is
guy's
the.
head, if you imagine this guy's head, I've quite a big head. His head was probably 3 times the size of my head. And I'm
It was
not even
gas.
messing when I say that. Go look at his pictures if you don't believe me.
Yeah,
He is unrecognizable.
but
And
it
I
was
didn't
so
know who it
funny.
was. And then I went, fuck, it's Ed. I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't
But
believe it. And then I talking, it was mad.
it was great because I remember I went up to it and I go, I'll get him because Ray was with me. Ray brought me.
Yeah,
It was because I think Simon Crotchford was
yeah.
they were all doing security at that show. I think the IWW lads.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think they
Ray
were
got.
helping out with ring crew and all that kind of stuff
That's what
now,
it
weren't
was
they? Yeah,
because Ray got me in
yeah,
for free, or was it you who
yeah,
got me in for free? Someone got me in for free to the show
yeah,
anyway. But I remember I saw you, and I'd only been texting you, and I walked up to you, and I was like, I have a bit of fun here. I said, all right, no, what's the story? How are you? And you're like, And mate, I swear to God, you were looking
My
at me,
face.
you were looking
Yeah.
through me, you were like, oh yeah, good. How are you? So yeah, grand. How's Hillary? And you're like, yeah, grand. And how are
I
you?
was still trying to figure out who
I
you
know,
were.
and I'll never
Seriously, I'm
forget.
not even messing here.
Mate, I'll never forget. I was like, it's Ed. I'm Ed Lindsay. And like that's when you saw me, and your eyes just went like
Yeah,
that, and you just gave me. I'll never forget. You just gave me a big hug. Then you know what I
yeah.
mean, like. And then, of course, the old friendship came out straight. You fat bastard, the size, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, and
Yeah, that was
that's what I
crazy.
needed, Noel. You know, I had a couple
Yeah,
of people
absolutely.
who never once even talked about me. Like another lad, Emil Tate, great guy.
Yeah,
He never once like he lost his dad and his brother to cancer. You know, so he'd
yeah,
been through it as well, and he never ever once said, "You all right? You doing all right?" Every time he'd see me, especially when I was on steroids, look at your Mitchell and man, the state. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
he kept
yeah.
it real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You
Like there
kind
was
of need
never
that
this.
balance. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, and that's another thing.
So
Like
then getting back to when you came into the shop then that day,
exactly.
you were
So this is
about
about this
a
was
quarter of the size you were then.
yeah. So that was the very start of no, that was mid 2013. Yeah, so yeah, things were up and down. It was mid 2013, but I was off steroids. The hips were gone. I came into on the like I said the double crutches or whatever it was, and I just told you what the crack was. But from being on the crutches so much and leaning on myself, I fell one day, and that's why I can't straighten that elbow, and I wrecked that shoulder, and that shoulder had to be replaced as well. So the crutches did that to me. You know what I mean? It was a fucking. It was just looking back now. I tell you what, it was like being chased. And that, you know when you chase an ant with a magnifying glass, you don't kill it. Well, I don't know if you did this, but like I did it when I was a kid. You don't kill it, but you torture the shit out of it. That's what I felt. I was like, this is what's happening. Like this is how I feel. I'm God's ant, and he has his
Yeah, yeah,
microphone, and but yeah, so I came into it and I told you the crack, and my dad had to like basically wait around for me. Like, and I don't mind saying this now. Like, my dad had to give up his job and look after me because I needed it.
yeah,
I couldn't
yeah,
walk, couldn't wipe my own arse, I couldn't wash. My poor dad had to do everything for me, and like
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
my
Shout
little
out
one
to
inside
Mr.
Willow,
L.
Mister, me
Yeah,
dad, Fred, like me mom and dad, you know, my whole family, you know, every single one of them. They were
yeah,
brilliant. My friends as well. Even all my
yeah,
friends, and they all know who they are. Like you know what I mean.
mm,
All the lads who never like Maddie, Ray, Graham, Carlos. You know what I mean. Philly, Flynn,
yeah,
like all these lads. They like. And if I'm missing anyone, I'm sorry, but you all know who you said. They never gave up. They all lynchy. They always text
mm,
me, see how I am, see how I'm doing.
yeah.
You know. I mean, yourself, Noel. Like you know. I remember you got me the pink John Cena T-shirt and all because it was
Yeah,
you know you got me because it was the
mm,
cancer one.
the
But yeah,
cancer
like
one. Yeah,
yeah, but like this was nearly 2 years after I had my bone marrow transplant that I was still
yeah,
going through all this.
yeah,
And I remember I went to a doctor, the orthopedic surgeon, and I had GVH, chronic GVH at the time. And he goes, "Look, you do need your hip replaced, but I'm not doing until that GVH is gone because I don't know what infection you'll get." And you know this story now, but I will say a couple of months beforehand, I'd been lying, like I said, no quality of life, lying in my mum and dad's back bedroom, moved home, you know, Netflix, like, you know, The Office was the thing that I watched most,
mm,
and I had no quality of life. And I remember, I don't know what I was thinking, I don't know why I was doing it, but I let a lot of, my dad used to give me painkillers and I let them build up. And I remember he caught me one day, not caught, I thought, like, I wish I knew what I was doing, I don't know, my head wasn't there. But they were building up and he
mm,
goes, "We're all in there, Ed. Have you not been taking your painkillers?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to take them in a bit. I just forgot." But there was a couple of days there. So I kind of fell asleep. I woke up, the painkillers were gone. Now I know I apologize and bounce back and forth, but these things are just coming to. And my GP, Fagan rang. He goes, "I'm just ringing to see how you are." Who's fucking GP rings you? I'm like, no GP rings you, you know. But my dad
yeah,
made a call because he was worried, you know.
yeah,
And like I said, I don't know. I was never going to do that, but I think I just didn't want to take the painkillers, you know. But how it looked and
yeah,
how my dad thought. But I went to the orthopedic surgeon the 1st of February. Now, at this time as well, and I can't let these two be forgotten, I got to say these now. Orna was beside me in all the appointments, and then she wasn't, and I was lost. So there was two people who jumped in, and they honestly, I owe them every credit. And they're good friends of mine now. Aileen Flynn and Elaine. I can't remember Elaine's second name. She's gonna bash me, but she knows who she is. Elaine, sorry, I can't remember your name. Elaine Walsh. Jesus, yeah, these two. So Elaine was a receptionist, and Aileen was my nurse. And these two just took me under their wing and they looked after me, and Conan, because I was in the hospital all the time, like, and they looked after me. Even if I was brought in to be for an infection or something, they come up and visit me, and they didn't have to do that. No, like no one has to do that, but
Yeah.
they were just so nice, and I'll never and all the other nurses in James's, like Fiona, Emma, too many to thank, but like I went down to the orthopedic surgeon anyway, and he goes, I will replace your hips when that passes. And I just looked at him. I said, that's nothing to me. Like, I mean, this is chronic GVH. This can last for 10 years. As you can tell, I still have one. I still have GVH. It's getting
Yeah.
better, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm sorry, I can't. And this is when I did say, and I meant it. I just said, look, I'm sorry, but if you don't do this for me now, you're not going to give me any quality of life, and I don't have anything to live for. And I broke down in front of him, and he looked at me, and he just said, okay, look, I'll do it, but you've got to sign something. If you get an infection or anything, that's on you. I was like, fucking put anything in front of me, sign it away. So signed it, went up, and I was doing this treatment for the GVH at the time called apheresis. It's where you had a Pickman line put back in, and you get I don't know what they do, they tan your blood, I think. No, I don't know, because that's where sunglasses after. It's a weird one. But I went up, and Aileen pops her head in, and she goes, how did you get on with the orthopedic surgeon? And I was like, yeah, he said he's going to replace my hip. Like, he's gonna get going on the replacement of the hips. And she's like, cool. Disappears. Literally comes back with a wheelchair. I made a phone call. You're getting your right hip done tonight. I was like, what? Like that. Done. So that was it. And I was delighted with myself now. I couldn't believe I had my right hip replaced. All right, so this was it. I was on the road to recovery. I was on the road to me getting back to me. You know what I mean? And I knew it wasn't going to be easy because the depression that kicked in. Like, I mean, I was still very, very depressed. Still couldn't look. You know yourself, I went to the gym a lot, so I was very, I don't want to say, not that I was vain, but I was very aware of how I looked. And I was very aware.
Conscious.
Yeah, exactly. And I was very aware of how I looked now after everything. Because I'd be going around shops as well on the crutches when I was waiting on the other hip to be replaced, and I'd have security guards following me because I looked like a junkie. And that's a horrible thing for me to say about junkies, but it's just how I looked. And I'll never forget, like, that's how I looked. And got the first hip replaced. Didn't do any of me rehab. Didn't do any because, like I said, I was depressed as hell. I still didn't want it. I wanted to get the other one done. Around May, it was time for the next one. So I think it was February to May. They had to give it a bit of time because they couldn't do it bilateral because they had to just make sure with the GVH. But they did the left one then. They brought me in to do the left one. And the doctor comes up to me and he goes, Ed, we're going to have to send you home till next week. We only have right hips in stock. And I broke my shit laughing and go, And he goes, Ed, I'm serious. I was like, what? They were fucking serious. So they sent me home for another week because a hip wasn't in stock. I said, oh, okay, cool. So I got my hips replaced. I started learning to walk again. That's what I did. I learned how to walk again. You know what I mean?
I remember you telling me. I remember you telling me that the rehab you went through and stuff and all that.
Yeah, and I looked at the orthopedic surgeon. I said, look, am I ever going to cycle a bike again? Because just before I got sick as well, I was planning to do Malintamizin for the Cancer Society, funny enough. That was the plan. And I just got into big cycles. He just looked at me dead in the eye and he goes, look, my job here is to get you to be able to sit comfortably at a desk. If you can sit comfortably at a desk and work, my job is done. He goes, get back on a bike. No. And it broke me. I remember I was like, fuck, okay, cool. Okay, I accepted it. But I was like, right, cool. I still got my puppy. I'll get my right shoulder replaced. Because that was the last thing to get done. Because they were like, we can do an operation on your elbow. I was like, nah, look, I can deal with it. You know what I mean? It's fine. Look, it's grand. Don't worry about that. You know what I mean? I've had enough. So got the right shoulder replaced in September then. And then that's when I started going out, coming back to myself. I started walking my dog. And it was cool. It was like, so I know I've been very jumpy, but like this is when I started coming back to me. Like, so this was end of 2014. 2015 is really when I came back into my own. So I was going on 30. Yeah, I was going on 30 at this stage.
Yeah.
And I came into it and basically was able to start going out again. Able to have a few drinks because they took me off all my medication. They were like, yeah, you can have a few drinks, just don't go crazy. Because my liver is still a bit ticky from all the meds. Still, it's
Yeah, of
actually a lot
course.
better now, but it still is, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
But I was actually able to enjoy life again. You know, I wasn't stuck into a bedroom. You know, I wasn't between a bedroom and a hospital room. I wasn't in a like, 'cause I felt like I'd been locked up for something I hadn't done. Do you know what I mean? Like I was just
Yeah.
because that's all I could do. I started going
Now
back.
imagine this. Imagine this for our viewers as well. Imagine being able to go out and walk your dog, being able to go for a pint with a friend. Just let that sink in if you're listening to this podcast. These were amazing things.
These were
Bringing your dog for
milestones.
a walk and going for a pint with your
Absolutely,
friends. Let that
absolutely,
let that sink in.
that's it. Yeah, and that's it. No, you're not wrong. I mean, that was it. Like it was. I could walk my fucking dog. I could put in some
Yeah,
music, listen to my iPod, and go out and just get some exercise. Now,
yeah,
I didn't get to walk my dog overnight. It took a lot of rehabilitation. Like I mean, I
mm,
like my shoulder. That's as far as that goes. The right, one, like, which is it's quite good. Like it's a lot better.
yeah,
Like shout out to Karen
mm,
McCann, like my physiotherapist. She knew I had no money at the time because I was on the social welfare, and she brought me over, and because again HSE being so slammed, they gave me like an A4 pad to do these exercises, which I didn't do. But shout out to KM Injury. You know, she's a friend of mine. I've known her for years, and she was like, "No, get over to me." And okay, how you get over to me? Use your bus pass. She's in Raheny. I still go to her. She was like, "Get over to me. We will get you back to where you need to be," and she has. And all
yeah,
credit to her.
mm,
Like this is when life started getting good. And then 2015, I started kind of going back to work. Do you remember when selling paintballs?
yeah,
Because it was kind of one thing I could do by myself. I wasn't really a full-time role because I couldn't go back to full-time work yet. I was exhausted all. I was still
yeah,
very tired, very run
yeah,
down, and I was still very afraid, if you will, because I was very afraid of the real world again. Like I said, I'd been institutionalized. I hadn't like the real world was still quite scary. I was afraid someone might knock me over and am I getting back up? You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I went selling paintballs and other people started coming back into my life that I hadn't spoken in ages, which was great. And one of those people
mm,
is, as you know her, is Sarah, my wife now. She was a great friend of
yeah,
mine. She was, and she texted me when I was sick. We were always texting, you know. We fell out of touch for a couple of years, but we came back in, and she was fantastic. Like we were great friends, and she was in a relationship. I'd been in a relationship. Her relationship stopped. That came to an end, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna ask her out on a date." Asked her out on a date, and never looked back. And I was told I'd never have kids, and I've got up twice today to go attend to my 3-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, and
it's
that's
amazing.
Willow. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, like
amazing.
I'm married now to the girl. You know, the girl of my best friend. Like the girl of my dreams. Like I love her. She's
Yeah.
brilliant. And you've met Sarah. Like
Oh,
she's
she's Sarah's an absolute gem. There's no doubt about it. She
brilliant.
you used to come into me every couple of weeks or every month or two. You come in and you'd be giving me progress on the pregnancy and all that kind of stuff. And I was just
Absolutely,
there going.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
often thought back and I thought back to when you were swollen up from the steroids to when you were in on the crutches. I said, here's this guy coming in and he's saying, I'm going down to mother care now to buy a few things for the
Yeah,
baby and all this kind
that's
of thing.
right.
And I just thought that was amazing. I have to actually let our viewers know as well. When Ed said he was selling paintballs, what he means is, the skirmish, paintballing.
Oh, sorry.
That's what
Yeah, I wouldn't be
that's
selling
exactly,
paintball.
just in case they think it's something else. I'm sure they didn't, but that's what he was
Yeah,
doing. He was
sorry. Yeah,
selling he
yeah,
was selling ammunition for paintball and for going
yeah,
playing skirmish and paintball
yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, yeah. But go
Yeah,
on.
I did eventually go back to a real life job. I'm actually not in a real life job now, lads. Don't worry about that. I work at a bike shop and it's great, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So I mean, life got really good, and as you well knew, I was told I'd never have children, and I told Sarah that going in. I was like, look, you need to know if we're going to get serious. Like we were serious, not if we were.
yeah,
I think we knew straight away when we started dating and stuff that it was for me. I knew straight away like
yeah.
I'll never forget. We watched an episode of Gavin and Stacey, and the way she was laughing on the couch, and I just remember going, "Yeah, I want to hear that laugh for the rest of my life." You know what I mean? Like,
Awesome. Yeah,
and I said to her, I was like, "Look, I can't have children. Like, I've been told I can't have children. We can do IVF, but and God, God, like everyone going through IVF right now. Like, keep going. Like, I mean, something will happen. But I was told that was my only case, and she needed to know that, and she was like, yeah, look, don't worry about that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I was going out with her for about 2 years. We got engaged in the April or the May, and we were looking at venues. And I remember we went down to a venue, and we had a look, and the girl sent us out a price list on the 23rd of December of 2018.
Yeah.
And it was wrong. It was so wrong. And I just said to Sarah, I was like, we were meant to pay our deposit that day. Like, look, we're going to come back to you after Christmas because we've got to get Christmas out of the way. This is wrong. This is not what we asked. And then Christmas Eve, I came into you with my nephew, Mark, and because I was minding him that day, and little Marco, he all my nephews, they're great. Like, I'm nieces, I love them all, but like, we went in, and because I wanted to show him the wrestling shop. He was getting into wrestling at the stage, and I was like, "Well, I'll show you the wrestling shop." My friend, one of my very good friends, works there. Brought him in. I remember I was walking around with little Mark, and I was like, "Jesus, I wouldn't mind being at that. This is great." Like, you know what I mean? Bringing him in around Christmas time, blah blah. So I brought him back to the apartment before my sister Jessie came to pick him up. And Sarah, we picked up Sarah because she was working down in Warrington Place at the time. So we picked her up from her job. She just finished. And we went home and he was playing Mario Kart. And Sarah went into the toilet and she calls me. She's like, Ed? I'm sorry, listen, being honest, I was like thinking, she's going to give out to me about some sort of state of the checks or something. I'm not in the mood of this on Christmas Eve.
You left the seat up. You left the seat up.
That's what I was thinking. I swear to God, I was like, is this about the sea being up? I swear to God, I'm like, Christmas Eve, this can fuck off. And I said, you all right, what's up? I walk in and she was just shocked. And she just hands me a pregnancy test. And I was like, what? Grabbed it. And I looked and we were engaged and all. And we just put off picking our venue. And she's like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, this is fucking fantastic. This is the best Christmas present I've ever got in my life. And then Willow came into my life in September, bro. And I remember me and Sarah went away for a week when Willow was a couple of months old. And I saw bikes and I said to Sarah, I was like, you need to cycle bikes because bikes were a big part of me growing up. And I still love bikes, but I can't cycle. And Sarah just looked me dead in the eye and she goes, I don't cycle bikes yet. You want to cycle? You want Willow to cycle a bike? Learn how to cycle a bike again. Get over that fear and get on the bike. Do what they told you to be able to do. I came home from Lanzarote that Sunday. No, the Saturday. And the Sunday, me and Shane Flynn, went out and I bought my first bike. Now, I've upgraded a few times. And I literally pushing and pushing. I was getting half a kilometre a day and I'd be wrecked. I couldn't do any more. My hips were killing me. My back was killing me. Shoulder killing me. Like, I mean, because I was so stiff as well. I still can't put my socks on from all the operations. And I still need a special device to put my socks on. Do you know what I mean? But I can touch the floor now and stuff. Because once Willow came into my life, I had to get flexible. I had no choice. I had to push through the pain because I've got a baby. She's looking for me.
Babies will do that to you. I know.
Exactly. Well. Yeah, exactly, dude. And then I got back on the bike, and then slowly but surely, I was like, Jesus, I can cycle. I think about a year and a half ago, COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me on the biking because I just got back out on the bike every day. I pushed because I was working for Guinness's at the time. And they had to let me go because we didn't know what COVID was with my immune system. I couldn't stay on working. You know what I mean? I had to come off. I had to. But I went out biking every day, and dude, because of Willow, because of Sarah, because of everything. I mean, Flynn, like, we just got back into biking. Now I go mountain biking. I'm doing this charity cycle. Well, I'm training to do this charity cycle. Yeah. Please God, I'll do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it should be if we're doing it over 5 days. But I mean, life.
The old stabilizer are a godsend, aren't they?
What I did was I broke down a couple of prams and put them on either side. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I mean, like, I seriously, I was considering getting stabilizers for a moment, but I had a few falls off the bikes and nothing popped out of place. I was like, right, okay, cool. I'm back to being normal, as normal as I'll ever get. You know what I mean? Like,
so this bionic biker is a real thing, is it?
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Like, you know what I mean? I've got 2 hips in the shoulder.
Right. Well, let's get in to talk about this. So, I gave them a preview, our viewers, while you were away, but this is it. It's the Bionic Biker on Instagram, and it's happening in July. You're going to be cycling from. I'm not sure if I always get this right. Are you going bottom to top? So is it Mizenhead to Malin, or is it the other?
Mizzen to
bottom
to top? Yeah, Mizzen to Malin.
So Mizzen to Malin. So that's what you're going to do. somewhere in the region of about 600 and odd, 630 kilometers roughly, or
Six
something like
six
that.
thirty roughly. 6:30 roughly. Yeah, absolutely.
630 roughly. And what dates are you going to be doing it?
We're starting Monday week, so it's the 25th or the 26th. Sorry, I'm not too sure, but it's Monday.
Yeah,
It's Monday 2 weeks. So it's not. It's come Monday 2 weeks is when we
yeah.
kick off.
And how long are you expecting it to take roughly?
We're doing it over 5 days, so we're doing it. Basically, I'll be 10 years cancer free on the 30th of July. So I want to have that done
I
before that.
want
So we're
you. I
doing it over
want you.
5 days.
I want you just to repeat that again.
It
10 years
will be
cancer
10
free.
years. Yeah, a
Cancer
decade
free.
cancer
How
free.
good does that sound? Yeah. You're
Fantastic.
doing it in aids of this, the Bone Marrow for Leukemia
Oh
Trust.
yeah, exactly,
And
exactly. They
that's how
are.
they're
They
doing it. And this is the donation page. And you're pretty close to your target, but as you know,
pretty close.
those
Yeah,
targets are always a moving thing. That 5,000 is just a kind of a benchmark. We're expecting to absolutely
that's that's
smash
all
through
it is.
that.
That's
So we would ask our
if
viewers or subscribers, anyone who can donate, no matter how big or how small, anything you can donate towards this. As I said at the top of the show, I don't think there's a family in this country that hasn't been touched or affected by cancer in one way or another, and all the different variations of it. An absolute horrible disease that people work so hard to try and eradicate and help people who suffer from it, and all the work that goes unnoticed, as we spoke about for the last hour. So this is the donation page. The links are down below. You can see them there in the ticker bar as well at the bottom. They're also going to be in the description of this as well. And what we're going to do, Ed, is we have some merchandise here. We've got some caps and t-shirts, and we've got some mugs. And what we're going to do is any one of our viewers out there or subscribers, if you make a donation of €10 or more, we're going to send you out a bit of merchandise for free over the next week or so, right? So anyone who
excellent.
donates €10 or more, send us a screenshot, the upper tier podcast at gmail.com. Send us on your name and your address and your size or preference if you prefer a cap or a shirt or a lovely tea or coffee mug of the upper tier, and we will send that out to you. So in theory, it's not going to cost you anything at all to donate. We're going to give you a piece of merchandise. So if you could do
Brilliant.
that for us, we'd really, really appreciate it. He's got just over a week or so to go, maybe 10 days. We want you to pump up that donation. We want to smash through the 5,000. You'll never know how important this money is to someone else going through what Ed went through. And it's an absolute great cause. And we look forward to it. No doubt you're going to be doing some video footage. So when you
Absolutely.
send us on some
Brilliant.
of that video footage and GoPro stuff and stuff like that. We'll put it
Absolutely.
up on the page as well and keep people updated on how you're getting on. What we might even do is, if you're up for it and you have a bit of energy, what we might do is we might contact you each evening to see how the body is feeling after
Absolutely.
you've put in a daily shift or something like that. And you can give us an update of where you are and how far you've reached and stuff like that, and we'll have a bit of crack
Well,
that week. Short
definitely.
videos won't be too long. You can ring us from the bubble bath or whatever it is in the
Oh,
hotel or whatever
I
you're
tell
staying
you, hotel B&B's, mate. B&B's. No, look, no, I like absolutely 100% definitely touch base, and like I say, the reason for the page, it's to show my progress. Show there's a few reasons I'm doing the cycle. Main reason, it's a selfish reason, but I'm doing it for myself to prove that I can do it. That is,
Mm,
but the besides that, the main reason, like, yeah, raise money for the bone marrow society is going to be great, but I need people to understand how important it is to be a blood donor, a platelet donor, and a bone marrow donor. You may never get called up to be on the bone marrow to donate bone marrow, but you're literally giving someone a chance at life, and that's something
yeah, it's massive,
money can't buy.
massive,
I mean, I've seen
massive.
so many. I've seen too many people. I've spoke to people. I've seen one or two people not even been given the chance to fight because they couldn't get a match. I've seen other
Yeah,
kids. I know of one kid who had to go to Germany. Come on, like, what I mean, they have to go to Germany to, this should be done. I mean, there's a serious blood shortage of donations. Get like it's not it's an hour out of your life. It's a lifetime for someone else. That's what it
yeah,
is. It's an
absolutely.
hour out of your life, and if it is a bone marrow, you're given, yeah, it's maybe a week out of your life, but again, it's an eternity, like, not an eternity, but you know what I mean. It's a lifetime for someone else. So please, guys, please sign up to be a blood donor. It's that's all I'll ask. If I can get anything out of this podcast, out of my Bionic micro page, it's to just get people to be aware of how important it is. You'd never know, you might need it yourself one day. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
please,
absolutely. And if anyone is out there and they are going through it or they have been touched or affected by the episode, of course, get in touch if you need someone to talk to. Hit us up, send us
yeah,
in any questions you want. It doesn't matter what it is. I've gone through it heavily with my mother, and somewhat with my father. Ed's gone through it firsthand.
mm,
So yeah, all the support is there, and of course the cancer supports out there are absolutely fantastic as well. Go and
brilliant,
check them out.
top man.
And again, I would re-emphasize, anyone, if you're not feeling right about yourself or you feel something's wrong, go and get it checked out. Timing in these things is everything. Everything,
Crucial,
even
lads.
if it's days or weeks, it's crucial. Go and do it. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on to tell that story. I mean,
Thank
we
you.
kind of know it inside out at this stage, don't we? Really,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
I
Oh
often
yeah.
say it's an amazing story. I turn around to so many people at times, and you don't even realise this. And I say to them, if you want to understand the meaning of life and stuff like that, you should go and just look at Ed Lindsay's story because I can say it here for one, and I said it already when he came into the shop. I was sure I was going to lose you, and it did affect
Yeah,
me a lot. You know what I mean? And the
yeah.
fact that I see you now, and I see you smiling, and I see you working, and you have Sarah, and you have Willow, and you have the dog, and you have all these good things going on in your life, and you're back on the bike, and you contacted me and said, "I'm going to cycle 630 kilometers from the one tip of Ireland to the top tip of Ireland," and I was there going, "Stop now, no, stop."
This lad, huh?
Stop.
This lad.
I know you missed that positivity, the power of positivity. We love the new day and all that kind of stuff in the wrestling. But I was thinking, come on now, that might be a bit of a stretch.
Shout
But
out to
listen,
Fergal Davitt. Let's not forget him. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. But
What a hero.
all I
No,
can say is absolutely brilliant. Chuffed to have you on.
yeah. Thank you, man.
Chuffed that
Thank you so
everything's
much,
going
man.
so well.
I
And I
know,
really look
like,
forward to replacing the cycle.
just so you know as well, man. You've no idea how much you helped me as well through my journey. Like you again, like I say, everyone I've mentioned, anyone I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, but you know who you are. I mean, everybody got me. Like that was a team effort, really. You know what I mean? I mean, I
Mm,
did the fighting, but like my family, Bruce, Rory, Jesse, Vicky, Wes, me mum and dad, like everyone, my cousins,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, like I can't, we'd be here all day, dude. But like, I mean,
Yeah, Vicky used to
everybody,
keep me updated. Vicky used to keep me
yeah,
updated quite a bit. Yeah, Vicky's a gem. Yeah, absolutely.
Vicky and Jesse, they're all, and that's it. Like Vic is fucking, she was so, everyone was so good to me. I mean, like I say,
Mm,
but look, thank you so much for giving me the time. And again, you know what I mean? Like, I really
anytime.
appreciate it. I mean, if we can, if just get this story out. But look, it's been great to be on the show. Like, and thanks for not calling me out, not knowing anything about football as well. I appreciate that, mate.
Listen, I spend my week here spoofing it anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. You know, everyone knows the story with me. You know,
Oh,
yeah, bit
nice
of
one, man.
fun. Absolute pleasure having you on. As
Thank you,
always, if
man.
you want to contact the show, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, the Upper Tier Podcast. We're also the Upper Tier Podcast at gmail.com if you want to email us. Make sure you try and get those donations in to support Ed. Let us know, and we'll get a piece of merchandise out to you. We've some nice snapback caps back there. We've some t-shirts. We've got some mugs and all that kind of stuff. So this donation ain't gonna cost you a penny. You're gonna have a slick coffee mug to drink your coffee or your tea or your hot chocolate or whatever it is you want to drink it in. You don't have to go around with a Starbucks one with your name on it and all that kind of stuff. It's way cooler with our ones. Um, yeah, it's been a pleasure. We'll get you to update us as you go through
Definitely.
this challenge, as we call it. It's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I'm sure I'm going to feel a lot better than your backside is after doing this anyway. But and listen, we'll talk to you again real soon, kid. Cheers.
Thank you. I'll see you soon, mate. Bye bye.